What is up, everyone? It is me, DevilNeverCry, and this is Ninja Gaiden 4 Chapter 1, Bloodsoaked Tokyo on Master Ninja mode, picking up where we left off with our Master Ninja debacle. Seems like a lot of you in that initial video wanted to see more Master Ninja mode, so yeah, you're going to see more of me suffering, so to speak. This mission is basically going to be the litmus test for people and miss Master Ninja mode, if I'm honest. There's a couple of, I want to say a handful of encounters which are fairly difficult, but it culminates in the brick wall that is the boss at the end of this chapter, the Divine Dragon Order Commander, which, yeah, I can attribute the majority of my time on this chapter to that boss alone. Genuinely, it took me more time to defeat him and figure out a strategy than it did for me to get through basically almost all of this level. So we do some light platforming. We're still going around, still looking at chests and whatnot as we come to a almost mandatory walk and talk segment as we're introduced to shrines, and then we are mandatorily forced to heal. So for those of you trying your no heal runs, GG. Though technically not sure if that counts, if it's mandatory, but who knows. One thing I will say is that every time you find a shrine, definitely go and look at it. It automatically refills your health as we head into the first encounter, the most difficult one. So we're going to open up here with an Azuna drop, and my first point of call here is basically to get some sort of a blood essence to spawn, really focusing on mobility as I inevitably get tagged there. We get the obliteration technique on this enemy, which is going to spawn us a piece of essence, and thus we can start with the on-landing ultimate technique chains, on-landing UTs, so to speak. Straight into another obliteration technique, and the enemies in this are basically staggered in how they spawn in as we get them dropping out of this dropship. And that dude in the background is going to be a bit of a problem because he's the one that throws bombs, so we're going to be careful of him. They do a lot of damage. Later on we're going to have somebody basically sitting atop the containers firing down projectiles at us that we're going to want to get rid of. The dude there with a different helmet who likes to two-hand his sword a lot, be very careful. He loves to zoom across the map to get to you. And and right on cue we have the bloke in the back throwing the rockets our way. You can see here that I'm trying to basically save the essence and make my way over to this dude in the background so I can hit him with an ultimate technique. I fail there, but we managed to take him out, it looks like, which is a bit of a surprise. From time to time you'll see things like that, attacks like that, or the flying swallow decapitating enemies in one go, which seems a bit ominous and weird, but we take those wins. So we're managing to still keep away from Rocket Man over here, making sure that we're holding block to conserve that essence for when we need it. We've got our Berserk gauge full and right on cue here, and we're going to use a Bloodbath Slaughter to wipe out as many enemies as we can. That's pretty much the only use I have for Berserk at this point. I don't really tend to go for the cinematic finishers or obliteration techniques. It's purely just used to stack up for the Bloodbath Slaughter move. And there's the dude on the container, be careful of him. Those bullets, as I said, do like almost no damage on normal mode, but they easily whittle away your health quite deeply on Master Ninja mode as we go for the Flying Swallow, trying to get a decap, but we hit him with the Azuna drop instead. And that's actually the first encounter done, surprisingly. I died maybe a couple of times here, I want to say maybe once or twice, as I kind of sort of figured out what the priority was going to be in terms of who we take out first. Just waiting for the door to open as I'm jumping in squares there. Don't ask me why. And then we get the old cinematic sort of context-sensitive move here. Big old blade. Looks pretty cool. One of the issues I have with this Bloodbind, though, for the dual katanas is just how long it takes for moves to wind up. And that's something that I've seen a lot of people share their sentiments with. Interesting moves, but they just take forever to come out, and when a moment's hesitation on this game can lead to death, they have a limited utility, unfortunately. Still, again, picking up the items. At this point I've not unlocked all of the moves, so I need the additional ninja coins. I'm not using items at the minute, which we don't really need to as we come into this hallway encounter, which starts off horribly, but we hit the ceiling with the old almost anti-Arizona drop there. And we take these guys out in one fell swoop, which, yeah, don't get too used to that. Be sure to hit some of these containers though from time to time. They will hide some essence should you need it. But again, like, attacks in this mode, as we skip past the crow there, attacks in this mode will basically one or two shot you if you're not careful. You can be taken out in one combo, so the additional health really doesn't make all too much of a difference, if I'm honest. As we make our way over to this elevator. But yeah, this mode kind of, well, I said this mode, this cutscene kind of threw me for a loop. The screen going black and then sort of phasing into this demonic world. I genuinely thought there was something wrong with my TV when I was playing, and I was just like, the fuck? Or even my capture card. My first time through, not on Master Ninja mode, because by this point, you know, you should come to expect it. As I try and wall run, there's a lot of walls in this game where you think a wall run would work, but they just don't, which kind of sucks. I initially start going off to the right here, just because I wanted to see if there was a mission that I was needing to do, but you don't need to. I certainly didn't need to, and it almost cost me my life. As you can see, my health bar taking some damage there. But this move here, and this weapon in particular, this bloodbind move is so useful for whittling down enemies' health at range, stun locking them in particular. You want to make sure that you get the timing down. You kind of want to basically press and hold the lined attack until Yakumo glows and then let go. There is a timing to it. It's quite easy to do. Nothing as sort of tight as things you'd find in other games, like, you know, perfect judgment cuts from DMC5, for example. As we send that man spinning into infinity, and his head caresses the iron grating there, never to be seen again. But I was on a tangent about items, right, as this dude tries to sort of sucker punch us. I don't really use items all too much here. I think it's the boss that finally sort of cracks me. Something close to, well, actually, you know, I won't spoil it. I think I did mention it in the first chapter, but let me know down in the comments below how many deaths you think I end this chapter on. Honestly, like, part of me is like, oh, you know, you get better ranks if you don't use items. You know, it's good to learn the fight, and it certainly is. But I've actually found that using items saves on time and saves on deaths. So it seems counterintuitive, but it can ultimately mean you end up with a better score, as we see that fade there, which means I definitely did die during this encounter, which was a little bit annoying because I think I got tagged right near the end of it and died to something stupid. But you want to start with the two guys in the back, the ones with the projectiles and the guns. Take out this guy with the hat. He's the one with the katana who will be a bit of a menace if you're not careful. He's also the one that likes to throw those bombs, I believe, as well. So, yeah, prioritize him if you can. And we're going to go for the same tactic here. We're just going to get those blood essences as I complete a mission. Good to see. And then we're just going to chain the on-landing ultimate techniques. We take that guy out with a flying swallow. It's pretty cool. Love when the game lines up like that. You can get a nice decapitation. But yeah, typically the level 2 ultimate techniques will kill the standard grunts quite quickly. And depending on where you point your left stick, obviously, dictates where Yakumo may go once he's sort of done defeating an enemy with an ultimate technique, if that makes sense. But obviously it only works if you've got, I believe, more than one charge of ultimate technique, so keep that in mind. We have this dude come from behind. It is quite surprising to see how many people are finding this difficult even on normal. Especially with items in play. Like, I found it quite comfortable on normal. But maybe that's just me being an outlier, even though I certainly find myself to not be a Ninja Gaiden expert. Definitely not up to par with sort of DMC knowledge and skills, I guess. We use the bloodbath sort of there, and then we obviously go for the dudes with the rockets. Bane of my existence, genuinely. They're quite hard to see coming, especially from off screen, and the sound they emit can be quite subtle, so you have to sort of keep an ear out for them as we do some platforming. What do we think of the platforming in this game, by the way? I'm a fan of it. It's a shame that more things aren't climbable when they look like they would be. Don't know how we're not slipping off this pipe with how slick with the rain it is, but we move. Again, hitting the shrine here, wanting to get that free health top up, as we'll need it. As we use the caddis wire. I decided to go back for these two, I think. I can't remember. Yeah, I do. I don't know why. You can assassinate them. You do get obviously a better rank depending on how many enemies that you fight, and soon enough I start to wisen up in some of the later chapters where instead of going for rank by defeating any and every enemy that we see, I kind of just skip by all the ones that aren't mandatory as we come across a dog statue. I feel like I've seen that before in another Ninja Gaiden, though I might be confusing it with another stone statue. Is it the Muramasa statues? Murasama statues? It's been a while since I've played one of the older titles, as we're kind of waiting for the exposition here to end. There's nothing here really on the left other than one of these guys. I've already gotten this. I thought maybe I could cheat the mission system by sort of picking up ones that we already have done on other difficulties, but no. Why they're still there after you've picked them up the first time, I genuinely don't know. There seems to be a lot of weird quality of life issues with this game. The load times are genuinely horrendous. That's one thing, but the fact that your progress with upgrades and stuff isn't saved after a death doesn't make sense. And some of the checkpoints here in general can be quite atrocious, not just the load times, but the amount of times where I've either died or I've had to reload or I've gone into training mode to check something out, and it obviously puts me back into a previous checkpoint, and it's just like minutes of time that I've lost. And it's just like, why? You know, like the previous Ninja Gaiden games had obviously the statues, I believe you could save at. And that system worked. The system did work. It obviously meant you can make your own checkpoints because you can go and defeat a bunch of enemies, get through a really tough encounter, and then save, so you never have to do it again. But it doesn't seem to be that way here. And this is the Cobalt Ring, and I genuinely don't know how I managed to miss this. I don't think it's a Master Ninja exclusive, and if I'm honest, it barely does anything. You can pick up an accessory that takes up 3 slots that gives you a much bigger defense boost. But yeah, all that's sort of done is just basically spawn these enemies in, which is cool. It's not really a hard encounter, but if you're low on health, it's definitely not something you want to do, right? Tackle more encounters than you typically need to. It is interesting as well to see people who kind of have only really played like Souls games, for example, or Sekiro, and you know, games where basically parrying is life, coming into a game like this where the aim of the game is, you know, meant to be offensive, and you see people kind of just sitting back waiting for parries or for perfect blocks, and it kind of just looks weird. As we come across another crow, I think we ignore that one this time though, but we take the free health refill, do some more platforming. Not 100% sure if I'm a fan of the amount of yellow. Feels like that's a trope from modern gaming that Ninja Gaiden really didn't need, as we absolutely scuff that assassination, which leads to everyone kind of knowing that we're here already. This encounter in and of itself is incredibly weird, just with how it's split across 2 separate levels, as you're about to see. But eventually we're going to put on the Kage Hiruko, which is the final weapon you unlock, and kind of go to town with the old Bloodbind move, as we Azuna drop this man into infinity. There have been a few times I've actually just like Azuna dropped an enemy into the void. It always makes me chuckle as we have to spawn back in. But look at these guys just down here trying desperately to get to our location. Doesn't end well for them. And this is when I realize there's an opportunity here. And it's great to see just how well this tracks. As you can see, it defies sort of gravity and physics and inertia there by just like arcing down in such an unnatural pattern. But eventually we're down here, we've got them grouped up, and before long we kind of have to take advantage. Don't know how I managed to avoid that, but we're back into our comfort spot, chaining the on landings. Good old obliteration technique. Which is your favorite weapon, by the way? Kind of sucks we didn't get a scythe. The scythe from, I think, Ninja Gaiden 2 was probably one of my favorite weapons from the Ninja Gaiden series, so it kind of sucks that Yakumo didn't get one. I think there's one coming in the DLC, if I'm not mistaken, which kind of winds me up that things that really should have just been in the game have been relegated to DLC. Like, I like the game for what it is, but there are certain things about it that could be just much better. As this dude kind of just sticks around here. Just saw his whole crew just get smoked, and he's like, right, it's time for me to start breakdancing and then just get washed, basically. You can see that the bloodbound moves are good here for breaking guard, so make sure to weave them into your standard combos, don't just button mash. But it feels like the speed of this game is a whole lot different and slightly faster, more up-tempo than previous Ninja Gaiden games, if I'm not mistaken. Going off of anecdotes, as I said, it's been quite a while since I've played a Ninja Gaiden title. I think the last one I played was Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which that was a interesting game. A lot of controversy from diehard fans surrounding that game. Considered a bastardization of Ninja Gaiden 2 and Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma. I'm looking around for enemies here, but I'm not really seeing anything, so we're just going to press on. But we're coming up to the next big encounter, and this is one that gave me a lot of trouble. And we're about to see here, because it's going to be a fade, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, so this is how it fades in at the moment that you die. There's that dude there who just seems to have a raging boner for wanting to smoke you, the one that's throwing the electric shurikens. The old windmill shurikens. If you're an avid Naruto fan, as we start our standard Kage Hiruko sort of pattern. That dude is lethal, so you want to take out the dude throwing the shurikens first. He's the one that can basically almost teleport around the battlefield, and he can blindside you, and he does a lot of damage, enough to basically one-shot you if you're not at full health. So yeah, I do my best to take him out first, but there's going to be wave after wave after wave of enemies here, so keep that in mind. There's going to be times where we're going to use our blood essence for the ultimate techniques. There are things that they'll do, like those wide area of effect attacks, which are quite hard to keep track of. As I try and charge a UT there, but decide against it because of those bombs he threw. And there'll be times where a UT will not take an enemy out, which kind of leaves you in a bit of a tricky position because you've not got any essence to chain for another UT. So you kind of have to be smart with what you're doing. I've tried to group them up there to take them all out, unfortunately to no avail, but we now have a dude here spawned in with the rockets who we basically make a beeline for because he's lethal. We get the old parry there, which was good. I'd love to say I did that completely on purpose. Maybe we'll run with that narrative perhaps. And yeah, they just kind of line up one after the other. Just as long as you're able to take someone out with a UT, you can chain it into another one. We've got a full berserk gauge here. I think at this point I'm trying to consider what we've got left to spawn and what else I can sort of get away with in terms of using UTs to clear out the battlefield. Oh, take a rough hit there, didn't need to. But it's not just the health items which are pretty good, or the Incense of Rebirth. There's also the, as we use the Bloodbath slaughter there, there's also the brews that are able to give you increased defense and increased attack, which surprisingly work really well. We're going to make use of them during the final fight, the boss. As we get this man just in the corner. Lovely stun locking, just slapping them against the wall. Pretty good animation. Feels crunchy. It's one of those moments that actually feels genuinely crunchy. But yeah, again, this is why I was contemplating saving it, because there's more. And there's another dude who likes to zip around the battlefield, as I take a big hit there. Just about managed to hit this guy with it, but he's not dead yet, as you can see, so I try and revert back up to safety, and I completely just botch that up completely. There we go. The time it takes for them to get up here gives us enough time to get out a decent little combo with the Kage Hiruko. Do I use one here? I do use one. Wow. Just absolutely betrayed myself there. I thought I'd waited until the boss, but it looks like we cracked even further, even earlier. Just pour one out for DNC right there. But yeah, that kind of shows you how quickly things can go from, peaceful, under control, to basically hell in a handbasket. And if we got an essence, we do have an essence, so we're okay for now. We're in the clear. That move is lethal. It's so like it's not really well telegraphed at all. It feels like you can be quite far away from the pole, throwing out the lightning, and you can still get hit with it. Way to go to with that attack. Completely missed, which was a shame. But I think that is the end of this encounter. Yeah, it is. Okay. So we just about made that. We got through, I want to say, almost all of them, and then basically started right at the last hurdle. Right, and that's the shrine out of the way. We've got this encounter, which basically is a walk in the park after that previous one. A lot of blue in this game, I've wondered. I wonder like why that was the aesthetic they chose. Even in a lot of the marketing material, you had people cracking jokes just about how blue this game was. Which, I'm not sure if I love or hate. There is one level much later on which is basically nothing but stark white, which is, I thought, an interesting choice for Ninja Gaiden, as the camera there just bugs out. It's nice to see, as we take advantage once more of the health buff, it's nice to see that it's, you know, continuing on the legacy of other character action games by basically having a camera that's worthless, which, yeah, I guess is a little bit harsh to say, as Yakumo here kind of stutters in his resolve. I wasn't quite sure what I was doing at this point. Might have been taking a sip of my drink, or, you know, wondering whether or not I was going to crash out at the end. So we break some boxes. Alas, there's nothing hidden amongst them. As we take our, I want to say, almost final elevator up to our fate here. As we've got just a couple of more enemies stood in the way. Assassinations are quite cool. I wish you could just assassinate everybody. It would make some of the more difficult encounters that much easier. But it is a bit of a weird system, because there's not really like any segments in this game that are purely relying on stealth. So it feels like they've just added that in to have like a cool segue from basically platforming straight into combat. We get it that Yakumo's a ninja, so assassinations should be in his repertoire, but just feels off considering it doesn't mesh with pretty much any of the other game mechanics. We got this dude off in the corner who thankfully stopped firing at us. I'm trying to see whether or not we can potentially hit him with the Kage Hiroko at this point, as I get just smoked there. That was a poor choice. And we just about make it through before we take another hit there. Down and out for the count though. No more enemies, so we don't need to save that blood essence. Oh, I stand corrected. We've got this dude who's just from afar, but again, the flying swallow comes in clutch. Just the decapitation. Probably again just one of those moments that are just so cathartic. Being able to one-shot enemies. It's a shame that feature is basically turned off during combat, especially against enemies that are just not standard grunts. But yeah, here we stand at the precipice of frustration. So get ready, and I'll do my best to try and walk you through the strategy here, which, unsurprisingly, is basically going to be going for perfect dodges and parries. I tried to go for the parry there, and I ended up getting almost destroyed. But we managed to claw it back. Talk about dramatic. But it's the Blood Raven sort of parry in particular, or the Blood Raven perfect block that you want to make use of. We get cooked there, and we're still very early on in the fight, but it's fine. We persevere. This dude took a lot out of us. And here we finally use, I think that was something that buffed either defense or attack. I want to say attack. So we go for the dodge there. Now once we've got him down to half health, you want to stay well away. This is when he goes into his second phase. And it's so hard to practice this phase because he just insta-kills you, and it's aggravating to say the least. But we go for the perfect block, which works quite well. We managed to pull off the level 2 UT there much easier, sorry. And then we finally get him there. Seems like I kind of knew what I was doing there. Kind of did, kind of didn't. honestly. Well, we're going to get the reveal here as to how many times I died. But it got to the point where I just had enough. I think there were maybe 2 or 3 times I'd gotten close to taking him out without having to use any items until, yeah, the load screens and the load times, especially on PS5, just downright horrendous. But that is going to do it for this chapter. As we come up on the results screen, 85 deaths, believe it or not. And with that, it has been me, DevilNeverCry. I'd like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all next video.